Good morning. I'd like to call the Highway and Waterways Committee meeting of Thursday, October 19, 2023 to order. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Carrico?
Present.
Mr. Dennell?
Present.
Mr. Featherling?
Present.
Mr. Snipes? Mr. Miller?
Present.
Mr. Kirkstra?
Present.
Mr. Smith? Ms. Armour Earps? Present. Mr. Ashcraft? Ms. Rittman-Akemi? Present. Ms. Turner? Present. Mr. Wheeler? Mr. Alexander Hildebrand?
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. I do not have any public comments on my desk. Is there any public comments? Is there any public comments? You're none? Next, we are going to, I need a motion to approve the minutes from August 17, 2023 and September 21st, 2023. I have a motion from Mr. Hildebrand, second by Ms. Turner. Ms. Turner here. Everybody in favor signify by say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much. I need to have from this committee maybe a motion to move things a little bit here and then have the highway first and the waterways after. So move it up a little bit for the fact that we're supposed to have someone joining us via Zoom to speak on behalf of the waterways update. So Ms. Donald, I believe made a motion, second by? Okay, Ms. Turner. Everybody in favor, okay? Say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay. So on the waterways here, on the waterways, the highway, Greg, we're gonna go into your pay estimate, but first what I'd like to do is to have a motion in a second to combine the engineer pay estimates. Motion to combine, second here. Everybody in favor? Signify aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, so let's go ahead and open the floor for any questions you may have when it comes to the pay estimate that you have it on your packet. Okay, anybody, any questions, comments? Okay, so that is to, we have quite a few here, and it's just so we can actually go a little faster with this. Do you have any highlights or anything that like that? We just can go ahead and ask for another motion to approve.
Go ahead.
Okay. So since we don't have any other, no comments, no questions, I need a motion and a second to approve the county engineer pay estimates. Motion, Hildebrand, second by Earps. I need a roll call, please.
Mr. Carrico?
Aye.
Mr. Dennell?
Aye.
Mr. Featherling?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkstra?
Aye.
Ms. Armour Earps? Aye. Ms. Rittman-Akemi? Aye. Ms. Turner? Aye. Mr. Alexander Hildebrand?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Now, I know Greg had something here that he wants to talk a little bit about, which will be related to bridges, correct?
In what's going on with the highway department in general, just to bring everyone up to speed, what we do over there. All right, I'll start with the bridges. In case anyone gets asked, we have 77 bridges we maintain in the county. It might be on Jeopardy someday or a trivia contest. But right now we're redesigning 4 of them at the same time, which is a pretty high amount considering the life of bridges. But I'll just run through them. County Highway 17 in Sumner, we're smack dab in the middle of design. We're about 42% done designing that. County 14, Highway 14 in Moments, we're about a quarter done with the design. County Highway 13 in Moments, we're about the same amount, 24% complete designing the new project. And we have a bridge in County Highway 41 in Essex Township. We're just getting started on and working on the environmental clearances. We're 9% done. We're intending for County Highway 17 to be design complete this year and put that out to bid next year. We'll have that one completely fixed. County Highway 14 and 13, the ones in Moments, we expect to be done with that, the design later in the year, next year, maybe mid-year, and then we'll try to get it out to bid by the end of the year. In County Highway 41, we don't expect that to be completed and designed next year. We're aiming for a 2025 start and completion on that. One thing we have done, IDOT has a special bridge program. It's for bridges that cost a lot more than your normal bridge, and so they help fund it. And it's kind of like it's $1 million threshold. If the bridge is going to cost that much, they'll kick in. They'll provide you the funds for the 80% portion of it, and which means we would pay our 20% match. Like for $1 million bridge, that's a good deal. We're getting a lot of bang for a buck there. We've turned in the application. We're waiting to hear from IDOT whether we qualified or not. We met with the Highway Department, with Dell and the Planning Department. We met with the Corps of Engineers. They switched offices recently. Used to be the Rock Island office reviewed all our items. Now it got switched to Chicago. So all the Chicago, three people from Chicago came down to visit with us. They're nice people, and they pledged to get along with us. And sometimes people get a bad opinion of the Corps of Engineers, but we're all going to work together. And we plan to have another meeting, actually, because this was kind of relating to permits with Dell, but we wanted to have a special one because of all the river work we're going to be doing. We want to know, we're going to provide a shopping list. We want to do this. What's the level of grief we're going to expect to do this? Can we just clean logs out of the river? Bake stabilization, stuff like that. I mean, they have different levels of twitchy, and we've tried to figure out what those levels are to know what we're up against once we start working on the river. We do the pavement marking for all the municipalities and townships that want it done, and we're about 5 good days away from being done this year. We've got a couple of days in Bradley and a couple of days in Bourbonnais, and then we're done. We got a new Gradle. I don't know, it's an excavator. We use it to dig ditches. It's a fancy, expensive piece of machinery. We received that right after Labor Day. And starting next week, we'll be sending guys to the operator hall to train on this thing, to learn how to use it. We have a couple now, but we need more. So we'll send 2 guys next week, and then the week after we'll send 2 more guys. So we'll have a bigger pool of people to use when we need to use the equipment. So if one guy's not here, well, we got plenty to choose from now. That's what we're aiming at. And last, and I'm probably not least, next Tuesday, October 24th, there's a public hearing for our County Highway 9 project, the widening and whatnot that we've been designing for years. It's at the Risen Savior Church on County Highway 9, right in the middle of the project, from 5 to 7. And we expect a large crowd there to talk to us about everything, hopefully roadway related. I mean, we're not here to debate battery plants. This is a road project that's been going on before the battery plant was even an idea in anyone's mind. And it just so happens that the road is ready to be improved now. The design is done about 75%. And so this is one of the last hurdles to get through before we can final up the design and get this thing out to bid for next year. And there's the mishmash of county highway tidbits for the day.
Any questions for Greg?
You said that was 5 to 7
PM.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Snipes?
This may be unrelated, but who's dealing with the project on Hobby Street? We don't have anything to do with that, do we? Okay, we're getting 1,000 complaints because there's big holes left and people's cars are being damaged, and they're not putting any gravel. So I got the call, but I thought I was correct when I said we're not over. I think that's the city of Kankakee.
Yep.
Thanks.
They're gonna pay that. How soon came out from city council.
Anybody else? Any questions for Greg? No? Anything else, Greg?
Nope, that's
No.
all I had.
That's what you have, okay. So moving on to the waterways, we still don't have our guests here online yet. Are you trying to contact them at all? You tried, okay. Well, Lami, I think Ben is gonna give us a little bit of an update here, since you guys have that all the information on your packet, and you've been pretty much aware of the project and the updates and what's going on with the muscle study and everything else, that we haven't found no issues were found. So I guess, go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, I just have a bit of a grant update for the group. I don't want to take too much of your time, but if we're waiting for potentially Charlie to come on, I did talk to Chairman Wheeler a little bit about this. So specifically on the Aroma Park dredging project, we've cleared all the hurdles and we received our first payment from the state of Illinois. So all of our environmental review has been completed. Okay. As it relates to the grant funds, we're allowed to spend our grant funds on engineering. So that's where Charlie's work comes in, where we're not allowed to do the work until the muscle study is complete, but we were able to process all of those hurdles. So that's a really good sign for that project. So we got a first capital advance on the project. It was a small amount, but that indicates to us that the remaining $1 million can now be drawn as needed. So that's a nice place to be versus us on a capital expenditure on the front end hoping to get paid back. Because I know that we've done that on other projects, and so this is a good place to be. Then not necessarily on the sediment at the boat launch. A second update on grants: the $7 million, the larger grant. We just received our grant agreement from the DNR. So we have a pretty massive environmental process, which Charlie's involved with on some of this. With the mussel survey, Greg alluded to some of it. So we're going to get a Army Corps of Engineers 404 and Section 10 permits. So we have Section 10 for navigable waters, 404 for our permit. We'll have kind of a rolling permit in this process. And I think what we're hoping will happen is we have an active permit, and we'll just extend the current permit from the Aroma Park dredging out to say to maintain this, we'll do other areas within the county. So we'll kind of have like maybe a 5-year ongoing permit, and that'll be the work that Dell and Greg and Charlie are doing with the Corps of Engineers. But the big thing for me, at least in our office downstairs, is being able to get the DNR uses something called a CERP as their environmental protocol. We initially sent it all over. There's still a lot we have to do. You can't just pull things out of the river and do whatever you want. But getting that grant agreement in place with being able to see some of those requirements is nice, and seeing that $7 million figure on a grant agreement is always very nice. So that came through maybe Tuesday. So good updates on things happening on the river. It's just things are going to take time as we go through this survey process for the mussels.
Ben, I have a question. So how do you see the outgoing timeline for the project, since that it was everybody's packet for this meeting that we have completed the muscle study, and there was no other issues found. So now the engineer firm is now going forward and ask for the permit. So
fine, yeah. So we have to permit application has to be submitted. I would say that, and again, without Charlie on the call, I don't want to commit him to a number of days. I know kind of the target was over the winter finalizing the permits, so that way early of next year we could be constructing, right? So I think the optimistic goal has always been if we can get in earlier, the first part of boating season next year will be done. But I think that every day we push that gets to be maybe more in jeopardy. But the target still, in talking to Charlie a couple weeks ago now, was that we would be permitting over the winter, which we're heading into winter now, and we would be starting construction in the early part of next year.
Right. Yeah. Previously, we have talked about maybe April or something like that.
Yeah, I think April's a good target.
Around that time, because I know that sometimes people think, okay, you found nothing wrong with the with the study, so let's start right away, and those things take time, you know.
Yeah, the core permitting is not necessarily a fast process, but to Greg's point, I mean, they've seemed like they're willing to work with us on this project. It's just it's a pretty complex thing to do. You have to understand that when you're working on waterways like this, you affect everybody downstream of you, so it's very important to be thoughtful about the work you do. And so they kind of take their time to do that appropriately. But yeah, I would say for me, if we're targeting, you know, April for construction, I would see that's still pretty fair. But again, if we went another 90 days and hadn't heard back on a permit, then we'd have to reevaluate that target.
Right. Mr. Featherland?
Mr. Wilson, is there any chance we could get some money ahead to get a study done on University of Illinois on the sand itself to see if it's phosphorus and, you know, nitrogen and what's in it, so we know what we got? Because there's several places that would consider having it and hauling it away if they could have it. So I'd like to. It's like $2,500 to have U of I did it. I was going to do it once before, and we never got around to getting the money together.
So from like a materials testing standpoint, they would. How long does it?
They didn't really tell me how long. They just said get it down here and we'll get back to you.
Because I just do.
I know it's $2,500 to have it done. I know that for a fact. That's what it was a year ago anyway. So I didn't know. That's something we can talk about.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of how you would appropriately test, because like typically we pull the material out of the river as it's dewatering. We would try and test it, you know, to make sure it's not got anything, you know, somebody wouldn't want in it, which it's just river sand, so I would doubt that. But are you talking about testing prior to then to try and target?
Yeah, because the amount of prices of nitrogen and phosphorus and all that stuff for the farmers is sky high right now. If you got sand full of it, why should you haul it away and dump it in a field somewhere when you could spread it everywhere throughout the county and disappear? If you put it, you know, sprinkle that everywhere, there wouldn't be any left. Mm-hmm. So why would we have to haul it far away?
Let's talk about it. I mean,
okay. All right. Well,
I don't know where the funds would come from, but we can certainly try and figure it out. So
I had talked with Andy about it, and he said he wasn't sure which fund it or how it would be funded. So.
And I don't know if our current scope would cover that, but no, it's worth asking.
Okay. Anybody else? Yeah, question for Ben? No? Thank you very much. All right. Is anybody has any other comments about the river, the Arona Park update? No? Now, next here we have the State Line Bridge meeting that they had, and I'm not going to go too in detail with that, but you had that on your packet. The only thing I want to bring up that we talked about that bridge before many times, and then this meeting that actually was held between so many different representatives from different organizations. They made a determination there that the bridge now, number 2, is under the property of the Kankakee Valley Historic Society. So all of the maintenance and disposition of that bridge will be under their responsibility. So do you know anything about that, Greg?
I sat in on the meeting, but the feds are still, they don't want to let anyone off the hook because we were supposed to improve the State Line Bridge as part of removing the other bridge. Well, we're working towards trying to get us off the hook and not have to rebuild that bridge. If someone will take it, we'll be glad to give it to them. And right now, the Kankakee Valley Historical Society has indicated an interest in taking that bridge as well. There needs to be a whole new memorandum of understanding, I think it is, stating what's going to happen here, and the feds need to be happy with it. And they promised an expedited review and processing of it, but I don't know what that means. But we're trying to go about not having to replace it, and if someone will take it. And the society has been willing to take it, but they don't have the funding to rebuild it. So I think they're hinting at some funding for that.
it's not a drivable bridge, right?
No, barely a walkable bridge.
Correct.
You gotta look down and skip the missing planks. You'll be okay.
Right. Any questions on that? Comments? Okay. You're none? All right. So moving on. Is there any old business? Any old business? Go ahead.
Referring to my other business, I was talking all about the special bridge funding, and I've neglected to mention which bridge we're talking about. That was County Highway 37, the Sugar Island Bridge over the Iroquois River, which is a pretty big bridge. And that's why it qualifies for the funding, because most of our bridges don't reach $1 million, but that one probably will.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Any new business? Mr. Snipes?
Just a comment. I don't know if you probably have an answer, but I know that Kankakee is doing the river walk, and I know we're in the process of dredging the river, you know, to make it usable all the way through. When they do the that river walk, will it interfere with any of the dredging that we would have to do as we're going through the process of trying to get the river into a new condition, whereas we're not getting a lot of the sand and everything else that we get from Indiana as we're going through this whole process? Once we do the river walk, will they be able to enjoy it? And what size boat, if any, if they was talking about a tour boat, but what size boat, if any, will be able to get through there without?
All right, so Banner will have something to add to that.
So the scope of the dredging project, and Charlie just hopped on too, is well outside of Kankakee's riverfront development area. I would just say this as it relates to our ongoing maintenance of the river. The more we do to, and again, the chairman will talk to you about like consensus building and making sure that we want to do the right thing to kind of tick as many boxes as we can for everyone for the river, will be ensuring that we're not, you know, further damaging the asset, making the asset better. I mean, the fundamental thing here is less sand in the river, and then, you know, kind of fixes itself. But I would say, you know, if the city of Kankakee, through the process of revamping the riverfront, because most of it's on the far side of the dam where we're not working, but on the upside portion of the dam, you know, if they had a project where like, hey, we got a bunch of stuff along, you know, that needs to be cleared, that's the type of project we're talking about, right? So we want property owners who have hanging trees to reach out to us as we have the equipment to remove it. And so they will be a partner of ours, similar to the park district, and then every property owner along the riverfront. But the dredging itself won't interfere with the riverfront development.
Thank you. All right. So I'd like to welcome Charles here to give a little bit of more information about the Aroma Park Sentiment Progress Update here. If you don't mind, Charles, can you just introduce yourself and you know, who you're representing, so before you can give us an update? Thank you.
Yes, my name is Charlie Deweese. I'm a project engineer for the Kankakee Aroma Park Dredge Project, and I've mainly been working with Andrew Wheeler, Chairman Wheeler, to get this project into a design format. So we've got a grading set of plans that show approximately a footprint of in front of the Aroma Park launch area, boat launch area, a plan to take out some sediment to create a wide enough path for boat traffic. That's for emergency operations, and then also for recreational use, because as you all know, that area has become clogged up. And so where we're at right now is Christopher Burke, my firm, and my team, we have a grading plan that we presented to the regulatory agencies, and then that we've gotten Chairman Wheeler's approval on. and we presented that, I believe, at one of these last meetings to you all as well. Where we're at now is in the permitting phase, and so we had to conduct a mussel survey based on requirements of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and also the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. That was because there are some endangered mussel species that have been identified in the past in the Kankakee River. And so our team just finished that mussel survey 2 weeks ago. We are finishing the report, and then we will submit that with our U.S. Army Corps dredge permit and our Illinois Department of Natural Resources permit. So those two permits will be in process or review over the next several months. I would anticipate a 3 to 4 month permit processing time, 90 to 120 days. So we're looking at permit approval early of next year in 2024. And that really hasn't changed much since what I've previously talked with Chairman Wheeler. We've discussed that timeline before. So the goal would be to get our permit approvals from the agencies at the start of this coming year in 2024. And at that time, we could conduct a bid for getting a construction contractor that could dredge the amount of sediment that we need out of that area near the boat launch. So if there's any questions anyone has, just let me know. Like I said, I feel like we are making good progress. I'm glad we got the survey done with the mussels, and that will allow us to continue forward to get the permits finished.
Okay, Mr. Fredolin?
I was wondering if you had any idea how many cubic yards of sand we were going to haul out of that Aroma area, launch area. In your head, it wouldn't hold you to the number. Is it 1 million, or is it 300 or 1,000 or 10 yards?
No, so here's what we the short answer to your question is we're looking at probably no more than 10,000 cubic yards. In fact, it's most likely going to end up being less than that. The reason for that is we considered whether or not with Chairman Wheeler, we discussed whether or not the dredge project should dredge from bank to bank, meaning should we dredge the entire width of the river? And basically what we recommended was that we don't use that approach because a lot of it will fill back in over time. Instead, we recommended keeping a 30 to 40 foot wide width in that river bed open for dredge. And so we're really only dredging about 2 to 3 feet of sediment down over across a 30 foot wide area. And that's approximate, but it's going about, I'd say the total length of our projects is about 2,000 linear feet. So we don't, like I said, to answer your question, I would say no more than 10,000 cubic yards. There's a little bit of variation that may occur before we finalize the plan. But that's where we're at right now.
Go ahead, Mr.
Continue my
Doing that math, it's more around 5,000 or 6,000 cubic yards right now. So,
do you have any other question, Mr. Fredolin?
Yeah. Is there any testing been done at all on the sand to see what's actually in it, or what's its source and that type of thing, so you know what you're getting rid of, what we're trying to get rid of?
Yeah, it's almost all sand. So there's some areas of the Kankakee that have a mix of sediment and sand. This is all sand. And we believe it's really due to the nature of the channel. There's been really low flows that have happened in recent years, and then the incident I believe that occurred with the dam downstream lowered the water even more, and that low water condition basically there's not enough power to move sediment in the Kankakee, and so it settles out in that area because it's so wide. So we're trying to create a deeper area just in about the width of a couple of boats that can be kept open. Yeah, I mean, to answer your question, it's all sand, and it is coming from upstream. So we'll continue to identify maybe at what rate it's coming. Right now, it's a little bit variable, and it's mainly happens during big storm events where you get sediment changes. But right now, it's all sand that we're taking out of there.
So you don't know as far as like, I don't know, phosphorus and ammonia and nitrogen?
Or are you talking about chemicals in the water, like water quality?
No, I was talking about in the sand itself. I mean, there's got to be something in the sand, or does it wash out completely when you pump it?
I mean, I'll be honest. We haven't done chemical analysis of the sand sediment to see if there's any contaminants. I wouldn't suspect that there would be, but the Army Corps may have some water quality data that we may be able to get a hold of to provide. Okay. If there's interest in the county wants a sediment analysis done to look at chemical makeup, we can look at that. But as far as I know, the sand is pretty clean.
Mr. Miller had a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As far as I know, sand does not contain or maintain any nutrients in it. The sediment would, and sediment could be tested, but if it's sand, that's like small rocks, and that does not hold any chemicals.
I did several borings. The guy who helped me do it back there. We did some borings, and it's like you get 6 inches of sand and 5 inches of rotten leaves, and you get 6 inches of sand and 10 inches of rotten leaves, and it smells, and it's got a definite fertilizer type smell to me to it. Okay, we'll get it afterwards.
I'm sorry, but the public had the time for the public comments in the beginning, so unfortunately we cannot allow that. All right. Does anybody else have any other questions for Charles? No other questions? Thank you very much.
Yep.
All right. Is any other business? Any other business? Hear none? Can I have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Fethlin, Amy, second. Everybody in favor signify by say aye. Anybody opposed, the same sign.